It's hard to understand otters. They mix up all their letters and only use vowels. Thank you. Next one. Too short. This one's called Hard Evidence. Sherlock took stock of the rock he had just tripped over. Sedimentary, my dear Watson. Someone's coming back to Worcester with me. You'll stay here. Okay, this one's called The Scottish Graduate. See if you can groan more this time. That'd be wonderful. Elaine is about to get married. Then Dustin McHoffman turns up, and at the last minute there is a change of clan. Never to be read again. Thank you very much. Okay, next one mentions dildos, so hopefully the youths will laugh at the back. Okay. So yeah, I spend far too much of my time on Facebook, and now and again I find something that's vaguely interesting. And one thing that I found interesting was a story about Margaret Thatcher, and it inspired this poem, which is called Under the Obscenity Act. Thatcher hated dildos, wanted to ban them, to protect public decency, to prevent physical injury. Though a rubber willy in Chile would have been an acceptable tool if that helped to advance the Chicago School of Economics. And if it had been revealed that a policeman on horseback on his way to Orgreave had forgotten his truncheon and decided to raid a house in Rotherham for a 12-inch rod from under a housewife's bed, we can be assured that Thatcher would have said nothing in the best interest of the nation. Thank you very much. And this one's based on a more recent revelation about Thatcher. It's called Something to Pander. Thatcher refused to fly with a panda, not even for the sake of propaganda. As far as I'm aware, no one asked the bear whether they were keen on being seen with a wild animal. This is just to say, I have taken the NHS that was in public ownership, and which you were probably saving for future generations. Forgive me, it was so profitable, so good, and so rich. Thank you very much. Read Carlos Williams, everyone, then that one will work. Okay, this one is based on a Michael Rosen story, which I imagine most of you heard of. Anyway, it's called We're Going on a Protest. We're going on a protest. We're going on a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh, police. Lots and lots of police. We can't go over them. We can't go under them. Oh no, we can't go through them either. Wishy-washy. Wishy-washy? Not wishy-washy, just polite. We're going on a protest. We're going on a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh. Marxist-Leninists and Fourth International Communist Workerists. We can't go over them, we can't go under them. Oh no, we've got to go through a discussion. Stumble, trip, stumble, trip, stumble, trip. Well, that was pointless. We're going on a protest, we're going on a big one. What a beautiful day. We're not scared. Uh-oh, the possibility that our protest will not result in our desired outcome. We wouldn't get over it. We wouldn't go under. Oh no, we're going through with it. We're going on another protest. Thank you very much. Okay, slight change of tack. I'm going to read a few domestic themed poems. This poem is a true story and a cautionary tale. It's called Wedding Speech. Never improvise a wedding speech, said my father-in-law, just before I planned to give an improvised wedding speech, in which I swore twice and said much more about the traffic on the way to the reception venue than I did about my wife. True story. Thank you very much. Something something original. Yes, I remember Adlestrop. The church, because one afternoon we went inside and had a look, and I wrote a comment in the visitor's book. Not lovely or peaceful or simply divine. No, something original, a genuine sign of my appreciation. I wrote, well maintained. And for a minute you scowled at me, as if to say I should have been more respectful, more religious. And it seemed that God agreed, as the sky growled and it rained. Thank you very much. Okay, this one, thankfully, isn't a true story. It's called Ruthless. To make the wedding more affordable, Dave suggested that they only invite people they would still be in touch with 5 years later. So there was no room for Steve, who he'd only spoken with a few times at the pub. Rob was an old colleague under the impression that Dave cared about cricket, so he couldn't come. Nor Andy, who was mad. Nor Scott, who still hadn't returned the DVDs he'd borrowed. Dave paused when he thought of his nan. Surely he had to invite her. But he definitely wouldn't be in touch with her 5 years after the wedding, due to her terminal illness. So for the sake of consistency, she was off the list. More and more names off the list, till he got to Ruth, his fiancée, and he removed her from the list as well. I'm 11 years happily married, but I just thought. Okay, this one's called Gloves, a very short poem. We were in love. We were like a pair of gloves. But, as often happens to gloves, we drifted apart. I found you, and you were smitten with a much younger, richer, and more attractive mitten. Thank you very much. Welcome back to Oyster. 150 of her. Thank you. Okay, this one is called The Truth Fairy. And this is another true story. Indeed, he remembers it as well. Our son claimed he had lost 3 teeth. He had the official tiny dental envelope, and inside 3 perfectly sized rocks. We had to admire his creativity and planning skills, though such meticulous lying was rather sinister. He was 5. What would he grow up to be? A Tory minister? This was not the best way for him to get money. In the morning we gave him a note from the Tooth Fairy, written in size 8 font, which explained that the rocks could not be accepted. He needed to know that telling the truth is important, though this was a bit rich coming from us. Thank you very much. Okay, this one is called First Day at School. So I'm a failed teacher, so I thought I'd be a performance poet instead. A wise career choice, I'm sure you'll agree.
Just about to say that.
Yeah, thank you very much. Judging by the tumbleweed in the room, a wise career choice. Anyway, this one's called First Day at School. Welcome to this wonderful school. It's my duty to tell you that rule number 1 is don't eat the food, unless you want to be glued to a toilet seat without the aid of a pupil who's unafraid of a week's detention for causing an anal retention. Indeed, such a wicked deed, though I'm glad to report the chap was freed. Eventually. He had to go to A&E. It was his first day. Though you know what they say, if you want to save a lot of bother, don't sit down, hover. Where was I? Oh yes, another way of avoiding stress is to completely ignore Mrs. Turner. She's the one with the Bunsen burner permanently at her side since her marriage died. It's her way of showing the flame has been snuffed out, the blame being attributed to Miss O'Hare, the former head of pastoral care. This really is a wonderful school, and I'm absolutely sure that you'll last more than a year, unlike Mr. Weir, though even he laughed when he had the skin graft. Thank you very much. Not a true story, but it really, really should be a true story. Okay. This one's called The Vicar's Wife. She runs the baby and toddler group, which is always too noisy. When you say yes to tea or coffee, she huffs and she puffs and she blows a huge sigh. She only buys plain biscuits. At the summer fete, she went around telling everyone she hates bunting. In 48 years, she's been to one wedding, her own, and every funeral in the parish. Her name is Joy. That's a real person called Joy, who I thought was very funny because she never smiled. And this one, again, based on reality, a genuine typo gave birth to this poem. This poem is called Walk Experience. That's a good start. You were coming back to Worcester. Sorry. The interview was going well, as far as I could tell. The panel were all smiling, nodding, lapping me up. Then the mood went from sweet to sour. And instead of devouring my brilliance, my leadership, communication skills and resilience, they focused on my CV, specifically the heading, Walk Experience. And one of them said, completely dead pan, we're not sure that your experience with a wok is required for this office-based role. Thank you very much. Genuine typo, did not get the job, but wrote a poem instead, so it was a better day really. I keep telling myself. Anyway, this one again is based on reality, a recent chance meeting I had with someone who labelled themselves the Time Doctor, a real job. He was a time management specialist who could save me 2 hours a day. He offered to meet me again. The next day, I saved 2 hours by not meeting him. Honestly, some of the jobs these days. My real job is in the careers department at the University of Worcester, so that I'm there 37 hours a week. And part of my job is to help with the compilation of jobs bulletins. Very sexy job. Someone has to do it. And one day I got distracted from writing or compiling the bulletin with the comments of disgruntled former employees of a very large business in Worcester. And I wrote this poem about those comments, and all of these comments are entirely real. Your views are taken seriously. Some of the staff are not friendly. We suggest you speak with your line manager. Thank you for leaving feedback. My line manager is never here. We are disappointed to read this. Thank you for leaving feedback. I was thrown straight in at the deep end. We are sorry to read this. Health and safety is important to us. Thank you for leaving feedback. Everything is brushed under the carpet. Please could you move some of the things elsewhere? Thank you for leaving feedback. Watching the buck being passed makes me dizzy. We are sorry to read this. The balance of our staff is important to us. Thank you for leaving feedback. The manager spies on people and keeps everyone guessing. Thank you for leaving feedback. We know who you are. The retention of staff is embarrassing. You're fired. Only joking. Thank you for leaving. Feedback. Inappropriate comments are passed off as humour. Humour is important to us. Thank you for leaving feedback. It's all about making sure the fat cats upstairs are happy. We suggest you speak with your feline manager. Thank you for leaving feedback. And last one, genuine comment. I would rather starve than work here another day. Food for thought. Thank you for leaving feedback. Some very sad people out there. A lot of them writing poetry. Okay, 3 more to go. This one is called Pause Then Send. That sharp moment of horror when you attach the wrong file to an important email. Poor Wendy felt winded as she realised that the photo to go with the press release announcing the new managing director was actually of her cat, Pepsi. Though fair play to the company, which leapt to Wendy's defence and for a whole week kept up the pretence that the managing director was quite inexperienced and entirely covered in fur. Thank you very much. That's that one. Two more. This one's called Let Us Have a Feel. At the start of this year's naked gardening competition, everyone agreed that it was not inevitable that nudity and vegetables should result in casual smut. But this made it hard to say anything literal without being accused of being rude. So when Geoffrey carried his enormous marrow in a wheelbarrow, and Colette cradled Colin's courgette, and Patricia pushed her pumpkins together, everyone kept their mouths shut and simply admired each other's vegetables, which after all is what they came for. Thank you very much. Saucy. There we are. Write my own reviews. Okay, last one, and this one about a recent traumatic experience I had in Asda, and I expect it's an experience that you've had yourself or something similar. It's called The Man in Denim Shorts. I only went in to get fruit and veg. Shortly after entering, I was put on edge. Oh, what I would have done for a hedge or a wall to conceal the view. The man in denim shorts was there. It was incredibly hard not to stare. Such a display of bulges is rare. I didn't know what to do. Put it away, Clive. I'd seen cycling shorts baggier than those. To think that he actually chose to wear such inappropriate clothes. I was in a state of shock. Yes, I admit my pulse did quicken, and a lump in my throat began to thicken. I hadn't come in to get some chicken, but I did see a cock. Thank you very much.